Hello and welcome back to the track, and today we're going to be talking about McLaren because I think that they have more speed than we actually know. You know, when you look at Oscar Piastri's results, even though he's only run one race, and I'm not just talking about Oscar Piastri, you look at how they're qualifying, they're splitting cars in qualifying, so it seems like they have a one lap pace somewhere there. It's just a matter of finding some consistency. But then you look at the rest of the season and you have missed starts, DNFs. So what's actually going on here at McLaren? Well, let's find out. But before we get to lights out, make sure you guys like the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. And away we go. Now let's start things off with Oscar Piastri because I genuinely don't understand what the hype behind Lando is. I'm sorry, I'm not a hater, I just don't understand it. He's out-qualified Lando 3 out of 3 times so far. But you have to look at Japan because Oscar Piastri was not able to start the first race, was not able to start the second race. They've been having problems over the weekends, not being able to put it together. And yet the first race that we see, not only do we see him fighting for the first place off the bat, but we also see him getting a podium, holding back a Ferrari and a Mercedes. But what's more important is that he looked comfortable. He was holding them both off, and even with issues during the race, he was still able to manage everything behind them. Clearly, they have some sort of pace if they're able to not only try and go for the first place position, but also hold other cars back behind you. Or is it just Oscar? I don't know. But that does bring us to an obvious question as to, well, where is that speed if they do have it? The biggest problem that they've had is not having a full, uninterrupted weekend where they're able to actually complete their entire programs. So far, we've seen them not have the smoothest of all weekends. Lando had battery issues basically every practice session so far. Already gone through multiple components. 3 of the batteries that he's allowed for the year, he's already gone through them. Now, yes, they can repair and use them, and now you have to work with basically refurbished products because something went wrong along the way those first few weekends that led the battery to shit the bed, or whatever the cause may be. They still ended up having a problem with the batteries. Oscar hasn't had a full clean run either. Between incidents and things out of his control, they just haven't been able to gather consistent race data. And then you add on top of that the car itself. We know coming into the season the McLaren were slightly overweight and the chassis wasn't fully where it needed to be. Because of all of these disruptions that they've had, Lando not being able to run practices and Oscar not being able to run races, they're going to really struggle to get that information back and try and catch up to where the rest of the teams are, which is why I think that this break that we're currently having is going to benefit them greatly. But the other thing that helps is knowing where they stand as far as their engine goes, because they are a customer team of Mercedes, and if Mercedes are found to be 2% faster than the rest of the manufacturers, then that should be a good thing for McLaren, right? This should mean that, hey, we have a great engine. Let's get our head out of our asses and just make sure that the chassis of this car is good enough for Lando to either win a second championship or give Oscar his first one. Once they are able to have consistent data, we'll start seeing McLaren fighting for wins more often. There's still something else that they have to deal with. That is being a customer team. And this is something that we've heard James Vowles talk about before. And that is that Mercedes are obligated to give them everything that they use, but they don't have to show them how to use it. This is where it gets interesting. But Andrea Stella actually said something important. It's not that Mercedes are hiding anything. They're learning together. There's full sharing, full collaboration. There's no issues there. And this is why I think they're closer than it looks. And I think that this break, again, plays into their benefit because now they have time to get to know these systems. And so if they can use this month to really develop the chassis of that McLaren, having that really strong power unit, my money's on Oscar. And the thing that I find kind of petty in this sport, or maybe not petty, maybe you guys can help me find the word that I'm looking for, but apparently during preseason testing, Mercedes brought a newer version of their engine than what the customer teams were running, and the customer teams didn't get that upgraded version of the engine until literally like the day before the season started. I think that's kind of bullshit if you ask me, because if you're gonna make the team give their customer teams the exact same equipment and software, you should have that be at all times. That should not be, it doesn't matter whether it's preseason or not, because we've seen how much just one tiny thing can give such a huge advantage to a team. So I think that's complete bullshit. And And that's always going to keep the customer teams in the back end of the competition. And so we're always going to see them struggle more. And is it good for the sport? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that there needs to be a line drawn where the customer teams get everything at the same time, no exceptions. So when you take a step back and you look at everything the McLaren's accomplished, they don't have a pace problem. They have a consistency problem because they do have that one lap pace. We've seen it in qualifying plenty of times already. But their biggest problem is that they just haven't been able to have a clean weekend. Something always happens that gets in the way. And I think once that consistency starts again, we'll start seeing them fighting for wins, like I've mentioned. If it comes down to McLaren versus Mercedes, I'm putting my money on Piastri. And the reason why I think that they're faster is because the only reason why we haven't been able to see any true pace from them is because they haven't been able to have a consistent weekend where there wasn't a problem until Japan. And just from that, we saw a great start to the race, and we saw McLaren holding off a couple cars, and we saw them getting a podium with Oscar Piastri. It's only a matter of time until they get to know all these systems, they shed the weight of the car, and they start having more consistent weekends where there's less battery problems. I think that's when we're not only going to see how truly fast they are, but we're going to start seeing them win. And that's when this can turn into a McLaren versus Ferrari versus Mercedes season. And I have a prediction. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think at the end of the season, we're going to have a 3-team battle for the constructors at the last race. And I'm thinking, I want to guess at least a 4-way battle between the drivers for the Drivers' Championship. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on McLaren. Do you guys think that they have it? Do they have actual pace? Am I just talking out of my ass? I know what my sister's going to think if she sees this. My sister sees this video and is able to tell me within the next 2 weeks that she actually heard me say that Lando Norris is the GOAT. I owe her lunch. But if she doesn't see it within 2 weeks of this video being posted, she owes me lunch. All right. Bye, chat. I'll tell you bye.